Hey folks, welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy 13-2, the Zodiac 13-2. It's Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age. It isn't anything -2. I'm MysteriousJG. So we got ourselves to the Still Shrine of Miriam because, the next optional super boss / Esper is something that it was hinted we could go back and fight as soon as we got back to the Holy Shrine of whatever the heck it was called, Mount Baramses. They gave us the Condemner's Amulet or whatever it is. Yeah. So the special gimmick of this fight is going to be that we're not allowed to have... Well, we just had somebody level up because Penelo, I guess, was the only one who didn't level up from killing Fubars at the beginning of the battle with Kuklain, the Unclean, which I'm probably pronouncing right. Should feel terrible about. Now here's the deal. I want to get all the good status stuff going that we can, because our special gimmick here is going to be no disintegrations. I mean, the Stone of the Condemner reacts to the device. Use the Stone of the Condemner. Our special gimmick here is going to be no magic, which is kind of a big deal. I found out, I thought this was the only Esper we can fight, but double-checking some stuff, we can actually get to another Esper after this. It's probably easier than this one from what I've read. The gimmick there will be no items, and items are potentially... hold on one second. No items is potentially disastrous, because... no items is potentially disastrous because you suddenly find yourself unable to use a Phoenix down if your healer dies. Otherwise, it's actually not that bad. It's just you've really got to make sure that you keep somebody with the raise command alive, and that's it. So this is an interesting fight. I did it off screen. It ended up taking everything I had, including subbing in party members and using all the mischarges and going through with the girls and using all their miscombos and the boys using all their miscombos. And it should be a little easier now, though, because the girls are a little bit more leveled up. And I figured out a couple of things. For one, I've got a couple of different ways that I can get Reflect going. And since I can't use magic to heal, having Reflect going is probably going to help, because some of the negative stuff that was happening to me is reflectable. The biggest problem there is that I happen to know that this enemy inflicts slow and stop. I think the technique it does that inflicts stop may not be reflectable, and therefore off screen I had everyone equipping something that prevents stop. I'm going to switch because Penelo cannot use Reflect Mail. I'm going to have her using something that gives her Reflect. But what that means is that occasionally she might get stopped. And then I'll have to manually give her an item that will take away the stop status. But this boss likes casting slow and stop, and I think we can probably get rid of that. I think the slow, it casts Sloaga or Sloga. So hopefully having everyone using Reflect will prevent that. If we do need to bring in the boys, they're basically all set up to be immune to stop. I can't get Reflect status on... I can on Van, but I can't get it on Bash or Baltier without taking the Reflect thing off of Penelo, which I'm not willing to do. So let's see how this goes, because this might be easier than it was for me off screen, because I'm more leveled up and because I've refined my equipment a bit. It will be interesting to see. But I definitely have to try to... This is Zeromus the Condemner, by the way. which is why the Amulet of the Condemned allows us to fight it. But yeah, no black magic. All sorts of undead lackeys will spawn, but we're kind of set up to prevent that. Or to not attack them, but instead to attack this guy. Because we're reflecting stuff, some attacks are going to get through and hit us anyway. Other attacks will not. But I'm curious about stealing from this guy, and I'm going to do it early rather than later, because it's probably a stupid waste of turns to be stealing, but it'll be worse to do it later. And I want to use I'd like to use an item to get rid of its... Yeah, Dispel motes are not that rare. So I'd like to get rid of its shell and protect... Well, protect is what I really care about. Reflect, not as much. I don't know if Toxify can be reflected or not. But we need to concentrate our attacks on Zeromus. And Zeromus no longer has... Did I set Ash's gambits wrong? She seems to be attacking the wrong targets. I did. That should fix it. Everyone should be... No, jeez. I didn't switch you ladies up at all. I only fixed the boys. I didn't even fix all the boys. The hell? Thought I had taken care of this off camera. I went and redid their gear off camera, but I appear to have just not been consistent about getting this right at all. Okay. Yeah, attacking the Skeletal Knights is just going to take up a lot of time. Because their physical attacks aren't doing that much. But it looks like... Oh, Piercing Gravaja is going to hurt. But the real issue is Pinello does get stopped because I think this thing's regular attacks occasionally inflict stop. It's actually going a lot smoother than it did off screen. So these dumbasses are poison. Okay, so yeah, Reflect is turning out to be a really good thing to use against this guy because a lot of their attacks are hitting themselves instead of us. Although unfortunately it looks like Reflect isn't doing anything about Sloga. I was kind of hoping it would. Alright. Let's have Ash and Pinello get rid of their own slow. I believe we can buy more Chronos Tears. Piercing Gravaja is going to hurt. It's protected and shelled itself again. So I will reuse the... I think I can afford to use a couple of these Dispel modes, but I don't want to overuse them because I don't know how to replace them. I don't know a sure way to replace them. Somebody heal that person, please. Yeah. Now we're just trapped in a mode of constantly healing, which is bad. Looks like only Ash got hit by Slowaga that time because it targeted her, and she's far away from her party members who are using ranged weapons and are therefore not needing to hang out with her, like, right on top of her. So she can use that on herself. Probably using up lots of high potions, though. Unfortunately, I looked this up. Zeromus is immune to sap, which is why I didn't use the blood sword for the first couple of rounds. Alright, so Fran is in charge now, and this is not going the way I'd hoped it would. She needs to use high potion on herself like yesterday. Ah, damn it. It's more than halfway defeated, but somehow it feels too early to use mist charges, but what the hell. Can always switch over to the boys. Nothing else. It might clear out some of the Dark Lords. Give us a little breathing room. Please get this off before somebody dies. Oh, Hiska is not going to help us much at all. Oh, I didn't mean to do the one that cost 3. Oh, I feel like I'm under a lot more pressure than I am when I did it off screen. Because I could mess up and it wasn't a big deal. But I want to get a nice long chain here to do some real damage. And get a nice area of effect one at the end that'll wipe out some of the Dark Lords. You know, the Saurons.
I must endure.
Yeah, I'm already at the point where I'm needing to replenish before I have an option, which sucks. Oh, I should have gotten one of the other ones of the mischarge there. Gonna need another mischarge now. I just used up the last of what I got from the last one, I think. This is not going that well. I'm not going to get as many charges as I'd hoped, but I've definitely got enough now to trigger a area of effect. It's just not going to go quite as smooth as I'd hoped. Unless I get lucky and get a mischarge right off the bat here, which I didn't. But I will get an area of effect, which may have the effect of taking a bunch of these guys out. It might not. They're not. They haven't been softened up or anything. Didn't do that much damage to Zeromus, but we may have bought ourselves a little time. Blood darkened to bone. He now has haste, which means that it might be worth it to... Do I have an item that will cast slow? Oh, well, no, what? You know what? Pinello's regular old attacks do slow, so it might be okay to let him stay hasted for a minute, just with the thinking being that Pinello will knock it out as soon as she gets off some attacks. he's still hasted. Might not be able to count on her getting a chance to attack. Because he's, we don't need him sped up. That is not a good thing for us. We are in a mode now where all we're doing is healing. It's hard to get our heads above water. It was going really well. Now it doesn't feel like it's going that well anymore. It'd be nice to not have to use the boys, but it's also just really difficult to switch party members when there's all this stuff going on. I think it's you have the thing that does slow sometimes. So we need to make sure that Fran keeps attacking. Wondering if there's any way that we've actually got back some quickening charges. No, I don't think so. Really should be doing this later and using X potion. That's part of the problem. So we could blow this whole thing. I'm certainly not hoping that happens, but it's possible. These guys have a little bit more health left. Part of the problem is that dude here is using he's using some really high-end piercing Gravaja. He's just pissed. Zeromus is the final boss of an earlier Final Fantasy game. He doesn't want to go down without a fight, you know? So I think it might be time to go for the quickening. All he's haste guying himself again too. It's just not a good scene.
How about some of this?
So I want to try to use the smallest level of mist required attacks that are available, and always be on the lookout for mist charges to try to extend this as long as possible. Try to see if I can do a little better than I did with the girls, where I really don't feel like I ate too much of his stamina meter.
Got a surprise for you.
Oh, I missed a chance to recharge Bosch. Oh well.
Got a surprise for you.
This is already going a bit better than the last one did. I'm doing better at picking the the ones that are only 1, maybe 2 in this case, not the ones that use up all 3, and I'm getting a little bit more luck as far as having mischarges show up. Yeah, do not want to do Element of Treachery. Probably does more damage, but I mean, it's not worth blowing up your whole combo by doing something that drains someone's mischarges completely.
Got a surprise for you.
I had one go up past 15 the other night when I was playing around with this off screen this fight. That did good damage. That hurt Satan.
I've got you.
So yeah, so far this is going a lot better. I'm certainly hopeful this will take out all the dudes, the skeletal dudes. Took a little more time there than I meant to. You really want to just like very quickly grab something because the time decreases the time you have to make a decision goes down pretty rapidly. Flame Perch. I got a mischarge first, but still, I find myself using when it takes all 3. I feel bad. Which I just did the same thing again. An Element of Treachery. I didn't want to do when I had any option available, I didn't want to hit R2 to get recycle choices because you never know when you recycle and then there's no options available for you. But it's not looking good here. It looks like this is about to end unless I get a mischarge here.
There's a problem.
Perfect. I got a mischarge. So I'm going to get up to 15 at least. It's possible this will finish the fight. But that would actually...
Here she comes.
Got quite a bit of hit points left for that. That would take some luck.
I've got you.
Pyroclasm. Sounds dirty somehow. Orgasmo attack. Sorry.
You're going down.
Yeah, you see, I didn't even have time to... Saw there was nothing, hit R2 as fast as I could, didn't even have time to get a second set there, because eventually when you get over like a dozen, it really doesn't give you any time at all to react. Ooh, Black Hole, that might not be good at all. I think that's the Darkness Elemental one, which will not be that useful here. Never mind, I won the fight. I would say it wouldn't be useful against those skeleton guys, but... Or is he going for his big The End attack? No, he's just defeated. He has an attack called Big Bang, but I guess he does that... You use that attack when you're controlling him as an Esper. So there we go. There's 2 other optional Esper fights I think we can do before we continue. One of which should be much easier than that one just was, and the other one may be considerably harder. Though it looks like Van just stabbed himself in the back with an axe, so that was fun. We obtained the Esper Zeromus the Condemner. And we just put the Mind Rush on Golbez. Okay, well, the first thing to do is figure out who gets this thing, because off screen I'm going to need to change all the licenses before I waste every single high potion we've ever had. So now Van actually has Cocoin, or whatever it's called, the gross snot mucus esper. So I'm less inclined to give him Zeromus. But let's see what the options are. He would get nothing as a Shikari, and as a foe breaker, he would get nothing. Because it unlocks a bunch of stuff he already got as a Shikari. Balthier also already has an Esper, so I'm not terribly inclined to give him Zeromus the Condemner. But if I did, he would get heavy armor. Not a complete waste, but and he would also get Sight Unseeing, which kind of is a complete waste. It allows you to inflict blind on enemies when you are blinded, but it's not like it doesn't work against enemies that are immune to blind. So it's not like it's some cool way that you can go in and intentionally have your character be blinded and then go into a boss fight against an enemy that's immune to blind under normal circumstances and find some slick, like, no, it still doesn't work if the enemy is immune to blind. So Fran gets nothing as an Ulan, and as a time battle mage, she gets Addle and Sheer. And this is kind of making me second guess that maybe I should have given her that other thing. She would have gotten as a Ulan. I could have gotten her Wither. Oh wait, Wither isn't one of the ones she's getting here, is it? No, Addle and Sheer, the defense. Oh no, the magic ones. So in theory, I could have given her every single one of those, but it would have involved a whole bunch of Espers. So Fran already has one. Well, she only has one, unless I am gravely mistaken. She has Adramelech. So I'd rather give it to somebody who doesn't have one yet. But of the characters who already has one, she is the one I'd be most inclined to give this to right now. Bosch doesn't have an Esper yet, I think. Yeah, I don't think Bosch has an Esper yet. Zeromus gives him nothing as an archer, and as a red battle mage, Zeromus would give him channeling, reduce magic cost by 10%. Ooh, that ain't nothing. Not as good as, I think, those two active skills for Fran, but it's not nothing. Then Ash, who already has 2. She gets nothing as a knight and as a Bushi. What a Bushido. She would get Magic Lore and Magic Lore. Meh, Magic Lore's not that big for her. I mean, it would help her healing a bit, but that's it. And Pinello, she still doesn't have an Esper either, does she? She would get Makara, which is a bomb. Who the fuck cares? And as a white mage, she would get nothing. So I actually think I'm going to give it to Fran. This will mean that Bosch still has no Esper, and Pinello still has no Esper. Because Ash is a bit of an Esper hog with 2. Van has 1. Balthier has, I think, 1. Fran and Ash will now be the big hogs who have 2. And I really need to keep my eyes peeled for. We know that he's not getting that. Oof. Whichever Esper gives Bash Ragnarok, there'd have to be a pretty damn good. Something else would have to be pretty damn cool before I would give up him getting a Ragnarok. Or Asuna and Cleanse would be really nice for him to get. So, like, somewhere coming up is an Esper that will make those available. And then Pinello, hopefully it's not. Don't care about battle lore. Her using Claymore would be pretty awesome, actually. So again, it's gonna really come down to what other things does that Esper that unlocks Claymore do. But It would be nice if we gave Penelo the either the Esper that gives her Claymore or the Time Magic ones would be nice, actually. This would be really nice. Haste God, Reflect God, yeah. Certainly don't care about that. So depending on what the... Yeah, and I don't care about hand bombs at all. So depending on what they're competing against, Penelo will eventually be... This is probably like the fucking ultimate Esper or something that, you know, by the time we defeat this Esper, we're strong enough to beat anything anyway. But at some point, an Esper will be, you know, Time Magic, and who knows, maybe the same Esper gives Claymore. That would be awesome, and that would definitely go to Penelo. And hopefully that is not competing. And then Bash, the Stampede here, if Bash can get... If the Esper that gives him Asuna and Cleanse doesn't give something really awesome to somebody else, he'll end up with either that or possibly the Great Swords here. Save the Queen, Claymore, Ragnarok, the Gods of Ragnarok, Ultima Blade. Wow. Okay, let's put it this way. We've been ignoring Bosch as far as an Esper recipient so far, but it looks like some of the Espers that have yet to come are going to do him a lot of good. So maybe it's fair that he'll get like Ultima or Zodiac or something badass near the end. But for now, Zeromus the Condemner is going to go to Fran, and it's going to give her some skills that will help out with magic type enemies. And makes me second guess that maybe, just maybe, we should have given her access to Wither. Because eventually that would put her in a place where she might be able to and expose. Like, in theory, she could eventually have ended up with all of those skills, even though they naturally really belong to the Foe Breaker. Who, we haven't come across any of them. I mean, we've got all the licenses, but we're not actually allowed to use any of that stuff yet. Wither and Addle. Expose. We actually do have Expose. That's the only one that we actually have, I believe. Whatever. Alright. Gone a little bit over. I definitely want to save the game. I will off-screen. I'm going to save the game. I'm going to change everybody's gambits. And when we come back, folks, we'll actually be ready for... we'll be going somewhere else to unlock another Esper battle, because I found out there's another Esper battle. There's at least one more Esper battle we can do, possibly two, before we continue the story. The tougher of the two Esper battles that's left is a battle that's probably even tougher than Zeromus. So I may want to punt down the road for a bit on that. It also involves fighting more than just that Esper. We have two optional bosses that we have to fight before we unlock the Esper. Because the Esper that I think we might be able to deal with now, possibly, depending on what I see when I read up on how to get to it, is the super boss of the Necrohall of Nabudis, which is a completely optional area, which is kind of the area where I go to grind off screen because it's got the highest level toughest enemies that are currently available. So we'll see, folks. We have at least one Esper that I know I'm pretty positive we can get, and it actually should be pretty simple compared to the one that we just dealt with. We'll do that next time. Thanks for watching.